Hello, this is Clinton Wilcox, pro-life advocate and staff apologist with Life Training Institute. I'm coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm here in the Providence Guest House, which is the hotel that I've been staying in, which is right across the street from New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, the seminary which the Defend 2020 conference was being held at. That's the conference where I did a breakout session on Wednesday. My topic was how Christians should think about bioethics. And the conference has been going great. I've gotten to meet a lot of people that I've only known through Facebook, Kurt Jarvis and Richard Porter, and a number of the speakers too, Doug Grutheis and Tim McGrew and his wife Lydia, etc. A number of people, Tim Arndt. So it's just been a really great time getting to meet these people and to get to know them a bit, and also to get to hear them speak. I had never heard Lydia or Tim McGrew speak. Lydia, it turns out she's extremely sharp, really sharp mind, very much logical, which I can appreciate myself. And of course, Tim is just Tim and his wife Lydia both are very personable, but Tim is very much interested in helping, budding apologists and even lay people learn more about the history of apologetics. And so I've definitely been taking advantage of my proximity to him for this past week to just get to learn a bit about the history of apologetics and to learn who I should be reading as far as the apologists and philosophers and theologians who've come before. So it's been very edifying. And Doug Grutheis, my first time hearing him speak, he exudes humility, and he's very much an inspiration to any speaker. And he's obviously, just like Tim and Lydia, very much very intelligent, great speaker. It's just been overall really a great experience, and my talk went well too. I had a lot of stiff competition for my talk. I had Gary Habermas, of course, one of the world's leading experts on the New Testament and probably the leading expert on the resurrection of Christ. He was giving a breakout at the same time I was, and so was Rob Bowman, who was also one of the plenary speakers. Who else? Tom Gilson and Neil Shinvey also, who did some great talks on critical social theory. And so I had those four that I was up against, as well as 7 other lesser-known apologists like myself, who were all giving breakout sessions at the same time. And I still got a turnout of 12 people, which was great. And so I was able to help them. They all appreciated the talk, and I was able to interact with them a little bit. So yeah, so from a speaker standpoint, I think my time here was worth it. And just from a standpoint of a learner, I think that my time here was incredibly well spent. So I'm really grateful for that. So I'm recording this video to just kind of give a little bit of update about my work. And because I am a pro-life advocate, and I'd like to get to the point where I'm a full-time pro-life advocate, I do rely on financial supporters to help pay the bills, essentially. And so if I have anyone on my Facebook friends list who might be interested in becoming a financial supporter, I'd like to just kind of give an idea of what you'd be supporting. Because right now I'm kind of at part-time status because I have to work a number of other jobs to kind of help supplement the income. But I'd like to get to the point where I'm full-time, because if I can get to where I'm fully supported, then I can free up a lot more time to do my work, where I can write articles for the LTI blog, or I can do more traveling to events like this, where I can get not just the pro-life position, but just educate pro-life people and Christians about bioethics and how Christians should respond to these kinds of challenges, and so I feel that my work is very valuable. And of course, a lot of people just don't have the time to put in the research and the study and all of these things. And so if you can support an apologist like myself, well then you're essentially taking part in that important work. Even though you don't have the time for it, your money is being well spent in in helping an apologist like myself be able to go out, talk to people in person, as well as through email and various online mediums, but especially get to go out to other places and talk about bioethics, because there are a number of important issues like abortion, euthanasia, stem cell research, all of these kinds of things, which are very important, and Christians need to be able to learn how to talk about them intelligently and clearly, so that you can be persuasive. And of course, a lot of times you don't get pastors talking about these from the pulpit, because they tend to view these topics as too political, and you don't get a lot of conservative politicians don't really like to touch them, because they want to keep their their donor base, and they have a lot of people who might not agree with these social issues. And so it's very important for apologists like myself on the grassroots level to be able to go out and educate people. And if you decide to become a financial supporter, you will be taking part in that important work as well. So this last year, I had a number of things going. I was able to go to Waco, Texas, early in the year to give a talk on bioethics at the Mentionables conference, and then about a month later, I was able to go to Houston, Texas, not to talk about bioethics, but I was able to actually take part in a debate on the role of contemporary Christian music in the church, which is another important question, and one that I've put some research into, considering that I'm a musician myself. And so, yeah, and then of course I had other local events too. I went to Fresno State University to give a few talks throughout the year and things like that. And my podcast that I host with my co-host Nathan Apodaca, we brought it back. It had been on hiatus for a little while, but we managed to record a couple of episodes in December where we had a couple of guests come on. We had Steve Jacobs, who posted that, or who published that study showing that 96% of biologists view human life as beginning at fertilization. So we had him on. And who was the other? Oh yeah, we had Teresa Brkovinac from San Francisco, from Pro-Life San Francisco, as well as Secular Pro-Life, on to talk about her efforts to reform the Democratic Party to make them more pro-life. And coming up here in the future, next week, we're going to have we're going to have. I'm blanking on his name. Next week we're going to have Stephen Napier on to talk about his a recent book that he published, as well as his argument regarding moral risk in abortion. And I actually just got a confirmation from Greg Kokel that he's going to come on early in February to talk about the updates to his book Tactics. So, and of course we'll get some other guests as well, but we have those two lined up for now. Of course, here I'm in New Orleans, and this New Orleans trip I actually had to finance completely myself. I didn't get paid to come out here to speak and be a breakout speaker, but I actually financed the entire trip myself to come out here. And my upcoming trip to Washington, D.C. and South Carolina are basically financed by myself. I'm paying for my airplane tickets, but although I do have friends that I'm going to be staying with who are gracious enough to open up their doors and let me stay with them, and that helps, of course, mitigate the cost of the travel expenses. And so I'm going to be visiting with Jody Ward, my friend from Maryland. I don't think she's from Baltimore, but one of the kind of the surrounding areas, or a city nearby or something. But yeah, so I'll be staying with her while we go and attend the March for Life in Washington, D.C., as well as a Students for Life conference the following day. And then I head down to Rock Hill, South Carolina to stay with my friends Devin and Melissa Palou of Ratio Christi, and they usually put me to work when I stay with them in January. And so the two events I know I'm going to do with them are that I'm going to be at a screening of the movie Unplanned there at the local university where they're going to show the movie, and then I'm going to sit on a panel with Melissa and with a representative of Students for Life, and we're going to have like a Q&A session, and then the following day at the Ratio Christi actual meeting, I'm going to do a pro-life talk as well, and so yeah, that's their local university there, and then a little bit further on in May, I'm going to have a couple of conferences. I'm going to do a pro-life training for homeschool students, because I've been involved in the homeschool community for some time, and so a couple of the homeschool parents have asked me to do a training for the homeschool students who are local, and so I'm going to be doing that in the early part of May. I believe that's going to be the weekend after Mother's Day, and then a little bit later in May, the very last weekend, we're planning to do another Mentionables conference, but this time it's going to be on the West Coast. So I'm going to host it locally in Fresno, California, and we're going to do a conference there. We'll have some of the Mentionables out. We'll have myself there, where we'll do a couple of talks. They like to usually have a debate, which, we're still in the infant stages of planning, so no telling, what's going to happen there. We'll have more information as it goes on. But that conference will be happening in the last weekend of May also. And so those are just a lot of what I have planned so far. I'm also working on a few book manuscripts. I've got a number of ideas for books that I'd like to do, but the first one, I'm working on one specifically so I can get it done, and it's basically on logic and how pro-life people can apply logic to the abortion issue in structuring their arguments, but also in recognizing the logical fallacies that a number of pro-choice people make. And I look at a number of pro-choice articles and as real-world examples of these fallacies in action. And so that's a book that I'd like to get that I'm working on right now, and I want to get that one finished before I start on my other projects. And so I'm working on that, and I'd like to find a publisher for it. I don't want to go the self-publishing route, because I've heard that's basically the kiss of death for a writer. And so I want to do everything in my power to find a publisher before I even consider going the self-publishing route. And so I have a couple of contacts. I have some ideas in mind of who I'm going to pursue as a publisher. So I'll definitely keep everyone in the loop there. Aside from that, I'll be continuing to write and publish articles on the Life Training Institute blog and the Secular Pro-Life blog, and so you can kind of keep up with my work there. And also, I've got a couple articles I've written that I'm submitting to academic journals for publication. I had my first article published with two co-authors, Daniel Roger and Bruce Blackshaw, last year. And so I've got another one finished, which I submitted, and they returned to me asking for some revisions so I can submit it again. So that one's looking pretty good, that it'll get published. And then my second one, I'm still kind of I have out for some of my friends and colleagues to look it over and give me some feedback on before I submit that one. So the first one that I have that I'm sending in looks pretty good, like it'll get published, unless something extreme goes wrong. And then the other one that I've got, I'm hoping to get published as well. And I've got a few more ideas for academic articles I'd like to attempt to get published also. And so that's a little bit of a summary of the work I've got going on right now. Of course, I'm constantly trying to find more work, getting out there to talk to more students and more events, things like that, more writing and stuff to be done. So yeah, so it's a never-ending battle basically, and of course keeping up on the reading too. There are a number of books that are constantly coming out that I have to keep up with, and academic articles, so that I can make sure I'm keeping up on the cutting edge of the various discussions within bioethics. So that's pretty much a basic summary of what I do. And so if you might be interested in becoming a financial supporter, then by all means, you can send me a message on Facebook, or you can also send me an email. My email address is clinton@prolifetraining.com. I'd be more than happy to Skype with you, or maybe meet with you in person if that would work out, where we can talk a little bit more about the kind of work I do, why it's so important, that kind of thing. Or if you've already been convinced by this video, then you can always just go to the Life Training Institute website, www.prolifetraining.com, and then you can look for donate in the menu at the top, and you can basically just donate to me there. You can put my name in the notes section so that LTI knows to attribute your donation to my account. I have an account through LTI, and if you'd like to become a regular supporter, that'd be wonderful. I'm looking for, for supporters who are able to provide $30 or $40 a month, or more if you're able, or even less if that's all you can afford. By all means, any little bit helps. So yeah, so that's an option you can pursue there. You can give me a one-time gift, or I believe you can check a box to make it a monthly thing, and then they'll take it out every month. So that's about it for me. And yeah, even if you're not even if you aren't able to financially support me, then by all means, just keep me in my ministry in prayer. And even if you're not a financial supporter, of course, this is just what I do. So if you have any questions relating to bioethics or anything of that sort, you can always contact me as well. So yeah, so thanks.